Hello everybody, it is Emery48 here and welcome back to another Star Wars video. Today we are going into the Legends timeline with Star Wars Republic Commando Order 66. And it's the final book in the Republic Commando series and one I've been looking forward to for a very long time. It is by Karen Travis, like all of the previous Republic Commando books, and I found it for $7, which is a pretty good price for a Legends novel. It takes place in 19 BBY and is concurrent with Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Prologue takes place in Kerbak Plaza in Galactic City on Coruscant, 600 days after the Battle of Geonosis, or ABG. Former Jedi Barden Jusik interacts with a Jedi who recognizes him, even with his Mandalorian armor on, and was clearly disturbed that Jusik abandoned the Jedi during the war. Now that's fairly before where this book is actually going to take place, but Barden Jusik has joined the Mandalorian ranks, as we've seen in a previous book. Chapter 1. Throughout this series, at the beginning of a chapter, there's a little blurb of something going on in the galaxy, not normally related to the main character groups, but impacting the war or discussing the war. The blurb in Chapter 1 has Fen Shisa wanting Spar, a clone deserter, to pretend to be Jango Fett's heir to help with business. Chapter 1 takes place in Mess Cavoli, the Mid-Rim, 50 years before the Battle of Geonosis. Cal Skirata was adopted and cared for by Mandalorian Moonin Skirata after his parents were killed in a war in their home. His birth name was Phelan Matran. Chapter 2, Arca Barracks, Special Operations Brigade, Headquarters, Coruscant, 736 days after the Battle of Geonosis, and in the second anniversary of the outbreak of the war. Scorch and Sev joined Val and Skirata to honor the clones they have lost in the first 2 years of the war. Skirata and Val then met with Wade Tehai and Mij Gillamar, who were also Mandalorian trainers for the clones on Kamino, but had disappeared after their contract was up. Galactic City, Coruscant, 737 days after the Battle of Geonosis. Ordo captures Agent Lemaloth of Republic Intelligence, who was following Bethany Wenin. Bethany was following the money for Palpatine's military budget, and seems to think that Palpatine is building a new army. Ordo killed Agent Lemaloth, and Bethany was frankly pretty shocked. After getting back to her apartment, Ordo gave Bethany one of the stolen jewels from Val's family vault. She then agreed to marry him, and they recited the Mandalorian marriage vows, promising to be together, if apart, and to raise their children as warriors. Chapter 3, in Seri, Mandalore, on Market Day, approximately 6 months later, 937 days after the Battle of Geonosis. Phi, with Parja's help, is slowly improving from his injuries and near-death experience. Phi and Parja have agreed to get married. Phi wants it to be once he is more healed, hopefully a year from now. As they were eating in the cantina, Fen Shisa came in to recruit Phi to do his part for Mandalore. Omega Squad observation point above the Hadi Rishon Road in Haurgab Mid-Rim. Niner, Aiton, Darman, and Kor are on Haurgab on a mission to aid in the Republic's limited war effort on the planet. They need to take out the Maujasi leader, Jalik, who the Republic deems a Separatist. Aiton has agreed to marry Laseema. Darman still does not know Skirata's grandchild is his baby with Etain. Some of the clones know, but some do not. Omega Squad assassinated Jalik, who was fighting in a raid of a civilian supply convoy in clone trooper armor. The 100 rebel reinforcements came out of a tunnel system to fight Omega Squad. Nerf Cantina, Coruscant University Quarter. Skirata, Gillamar, and Miriel met with Dr. Rie Nenelin, a professor and the best in the field of gerontology, which is the study of aging in older adults, to recruit him to help stop the rapid aging process in the clones. Skirata got a message from one of his sons, Ijat, that his daughter Rusan was missing. His 2 sons, Ijat and Tor, were the only 2 children to sign the Darburik Declaration, which is essentially a Mandalorian divorce signed by the children, deeming the biological father no longer the father. Muriel found Scarada crying after reading the message of his daughter's disappearance. Chapter 4. Spar did not want to get involved as Fett's heir. Kragat Restaurant, lower levels, Coruscant, 938 days after the Battle of Geonosis. So it seems like we're actually into the time zone where this book is going to take place now. Etain has been given 48 hours leave and went to visit Laseema, who is babysitting her baby Cad. Barden Jusik visited a mental hospital to confirm that is where Dr. Uthan is being held. She was there, and they have committed her as a psychiatric patient because she thinks she is a Separatist scientist creating a weapon to wipe out the clones. But she actually is, and I think Scarada may want her for his project. Omega Squad blew up the only path up to the fort. They then shot down an enemy ship flying above them during a sandstorm. Pickup is on its way, but they are struggling. Fi and Parja went to meet with Shisa, who was also meeting with Spar and Sol, two ARC deserters. Sol, Omega Squad had interacted with in the past and allowed him to flee the Grand Army of the Republic. Spar agreed to play the figurehead of Fett's heir, while Fi and Sol did not. Jusik entered to meet with Fi and Parja. Sol recognized his voice and got mad at him because of his Jedi past. Fi punched Sol when he put his hand on his blaster, and Shisa told them to knock it off. Fi, Parja, and Jusik left. Chapter 5. A production line supervisor at Rathana Heavy Engineering is confused at the bulk order the Republic made for ships and armor, a bigger order than Kamino had made 12 years prior. He has no clue who is going to fly the ships or wear the armor. Howgab, 938 days after the Battle of Geonosis. The rebels in the gunship Omega Squad had shot down began fighting as soon as they touched the ground. Just as it seemed all hope was lost for Omega Squad, their exfil arrived and got them to safety. Republic Fleet Auxiliary Support Vessel Redeemer off of Thyfera, 940 days after the Battle of Geonosis. Callista Masana, one of Master Altice's students, has come to Ordo and Etain to get Delta Squad to help them with something. All 6 Nulls came to visit Scarada on Redeemer. They plan on finding Scarada's missing daughter. A non-clone officer wanted to kick Scarada out of one of the officers' mess halls. Ordo told him to back off. When the ensign did not, insulting Scarada in a roundabout way, Ordo headbutted him and made him apologize to Scarada. After the ensign left, the other officers applauded, not pleased with the ensign's attitude since his arrival on the Redeemer. Scarada called his son Tor and got information on his missing daughter, Rusan. It was a very awkward conversation, but seemed like there could be a relationship fostered between father and son at some point in the future with a little effort from both parties. Chapter 6. Jedi Master Kruk took a short exile from the Jedi Order on Rule because he believed leading clones to their death for the Republic was so against the very nature of the Jedi's duty to preserve life. He told this to Mace Windu during his exile, shortly before returning to continue fighting in the war with the Jedi Order. Howgab, 1.5 months later. While Etain, Omega, and Delta Squads ate in the mess hall, the base was hit by a missile. One trooper died. The commandos are only mildly injured and ready to retaliate against the city block that fired the missile. They raided the house, killing 3 and arresting 4, finding the missile launcher and other weapons. Scorch then dragged the 3 dead bodies onto the street, shot them, and spit on them. Omega Squad checked up on each other so that none of them snapped like that, while Etain went to check on Scorch. Chapter 7. Hira Basat, a current affairs pundit, was found dead in his home from a drug overdose shortly after claiming the Separatist threat was overinflated on the news. Mandalore, 995 days after the Battle of Geonosis. After running some tests on Fi's progress, Jusik and Fi head into the capital for a haircut, apparently. The Treasury Department noticed the hack Jang had implanted, but he had also set it to destroy itself once it was noticed. The Treasury Department is assigning Bethany to the investigation with the help of Jang and Muriel, who are the best Null arcs at slicing. Etain, Delta, and Omega squads are being recalled to Coruscant as they are the only Commando squads that have the covert ops experience on Coruscant. They are also going to be utilized for the mission. Scarada is thinking their group desertion may happen sooner rather than later. 996 days after the Battle of Geonosis. Etain met with Callista to get some advice from her about attachments. Etain then met with Darman and told him her baby was his. Darman realized he was one of the last to know the baby was his and left the room to clear his head. Etain called Scarada to update him on their conversation. Chapter 8. Dr. Midge Gillimar, one of the clone trainers and a Mandalorian, made a report to the Republic Department of Defense stating that even though the clones were bred for war, they could still most definitely suffer battle stress, especially when the war has lasted over 2 years. 996 days after the Battle of Geonosis. Darman went and talked with his squad, who tried to help him through his new scenario. Darman is also upset that Scarada knew and didn't tell him. 997 days after the Battle of Geonosis. Zay wants Val and Delta Squad to keep an eye on Scarada and his clones during this upcoming investigation, as intelligence thinks Scarada may be involved in the issue. Val agreed after a long debate with Zay to let him know if Scarada is doing anything that would breach his contract with the Grand Army of the Republic. After the meeting, Val told Delta Squad to stay out of it. Anything that happened was between him and Scarada. Val told Scarada all of the details of the meeting. Scarada, Val, Gillimar, Bessani, Laseema, and the Nulls met to discuss any updates. Jang revealed that their war chest now has over 1 trillion credits in it. After stealing half a credit from every Republic bank account his system was able to access. Chapter 9. Chancellor Palpatine knows someone is getting close to figuring out his plans. 999 days after the Battle of Geonosis. Bessani, Mariel, and Jang did the audit of the Treasury Department, and Jang gave over enough info to show he found something, but not enough to implicate them. Unfortunately, Bessani's friend, Agent Chilka Zanzentis, has been arrested by Republic Domestic Security for the work Bessani had done with her terminal or code in the previous book. RDS reports directly to the Chancellor's office. Scarada and Val visited Omega Squad. Scarada told Darman that it had been his idea to not tell him about his son, and that he had forced Etain to follow in line. That hurt Darman. Scarada then told Omega Squad all of his dealings and planned to get out of the war with them. Darman was again upset that they were not told sooner and hit Scarada. Val told the rest of the squad to clear out of the room. Darman punched Scarada a few more times until his face was bloody, and then Darman snapped back to reality and was regretful of what he had done. Scarada told him everything will be alright. Chapter 10. 3 hours later. Val reported to Zay that Scarada was not involved in the virus at the Treasury. Zay unofficially has authorized Val to break Jilka out of RDS holding so he can interrogate her himself, as he wants information about a future Separatist attack. Delta Squad's next assignment is Kashyyyk. Sol and Spar showed up to talk with Jusik, Vi, and Parja. They heard rumors of Scarada's plan and want to help. They are going to join Jusik back to Coruscant. Vi, who is at somewhere around 85% recovery, is also returning to Coruscant. Before departing, Vi and Parja got married. Scarada dropped Darman off at Laseema's apartment so he could reunite with Etain and meet Cad, his son. Laseema is staying at Haller Obrim's apartment for the night. Etain was disturbed by the state of Scarada's face and thought Val had attacked him. After Scarada left, Darman told Etain he had attacked Scarada and why. He also said that he has forgiven both Scarada and Etain for their lie. She was relieved and brought him in to meet Cad. They spent the rest of the night as a normal family. Chapter 11. 999 days after the Battle of Geonosis. Valakil the Gurlanin visited Ordo and Bessani. He warned them to enact their escape now, as Palpatine's new clone army is ready, and it is not reinforcements to fight the Separatists, but to occupy worlds. It was also the Gurlanins that framed Jilka to keep Bessani off the hook for now. Ordo, Val, and Tehai broke Jilka out of RDS imprisonment. Chapter 12. Palpatine reassured the clone master, for the clones being developed on Sentex 2, that these clones do not need to be as high quality as the clones on Kamino. These clones will serve their purpose in his strategy. 1 month later.
Zay has ordered Etain to join Delta Squad to Kashyyyk. Anaka, a Wookiee ally of Scarada, will be joining Etain to Kashyyyk. After getting more shipping information from Naiv Valen, who had helped Saul escape in a previous book as an acquaintance of Aiden, Scarada has decided that their day to leave is 1,090 days after the Battle of Geonosis. 1 month later, 1,070 days after the Battle of Geonosis. Delta Squad Etain and the Wookiees are fighting the Separatists and doing well so far.
Chapter 13. Dr. Rie Nenelin has sent the information he was given by Scarada to the Chancellor's office, although he did not know the Mandalorian's name. 1,080 days after the Battle of Geonosis.
Palpatine signed a warrant for Scarada's capture, dead or alive. Haller Obrim took Laseema and Cad into safety and warned Scarada that all the law enforcement agencies will be looking for him. Phi, Spar, Sol, and Jusik rescue Rusan from a POW camp. Ordo has let everyone know that Scarada is on the run with a bounty on his head. The Separatists have started their attack on Coruscant before Scarada and everyone is ready to get out.
Chapter 14. Scarada thought Palpatine was brilliant for his plan of drawing in the droid army to Coruscant, then unleashing the new clone army, although he was horribly wrong on how he thought this would go. 1,080 days after the Battle of Geonosis.
Omega Squad was recalled to help defend Coruscant. They were shot down by Separatists upon return and got into a CSF vehicle for transport. Scarada rendezvoused with Val, Jusik, Phi, and Ordo, also reuniting with his daughter Rusan. They are going to break out Uthan. Then all they need from Coruscant is Omega Squad, Bethany, Laseema, and Cad. Jusik, Scarada, Phi, and Ordo broke Uthan out of her mental hospital prison. They also broke out Arla Fett from the same prison. She is the missing sister of Jango Fett.
Chapter 15. Padawan Semi-Nor is just realizing the clones have names. They also think because all the clones know is war, they must be happy and not suffering. 1,083 days after the Battle of Geonosis.
Etain, Inaka, and Delta Squad continue the fight on Kashyyyk, 1,084 days after the Battle of Geonosis. Omega and Yayek's squads are defending the news station so it can continue reporting updates to the public. Yayek's squad is made up of Avon, Dev, Jind, and Yover. Darman sent a message saying the marriage contract to Etain. She was not available at the time. Etain called Laseema for the same thing and she agreed. Ordo wants Omega Squad to report in, 1,085 days after the Battle of Geonosis. Scarada picked up Bethany, Laseema, and Cad from the Obrims, paying them 9 million credits for their help. Gillamar alerted Scarada to Palpatine's kidnapping. Chapter 16. While Palpatine is being rescued and returned to Coruscant, Mariel gets Uthan, Rusan, Arla, Sol, and Spar off Coruscant, headed to Mandalore. 1,087 days after the Battle of Geonosis. Jang told Ordo that Grievous is on Utapau. Ordo is going to alert Zay. Ordo told Jang to go to Mandalore with Comarch. 1,088 days after the Battle of Geonosis. Quinlan Voss has arrived on Kashyyyk. Delta Squad took out ships using anti-air guns. Sev was in trouble as their evac arrived. Voss and Fixer made Scorch leave Sev behind. Scorch was very upset about it. Delta Squad's efforts had allowed a path for Yoda's ship to arrive. Chapter 17. Etain wanted to go back for Sev, but Anaka, with the help of a couple Wookiees, forced Etain onto a shuttle and flew her back to Coruscant. Etain has set an acceptance of the marriage contract back to Darman. Once they are in real space, it will get sent. She also wants to alert Val of Sev being missing and explain to Zay why she was leaving the Jedi Order. 1,089 days after the Battle of Geonosis. Grievous is dead. Ordo has received the message from Palpatine to execute Order 66.
Chapter 18. This is the exciting part. Order 66 has been given out, but what we've been waiting for in this series for a very, very long time.
Niner, and especially Darman, are worried about Order 66 because Etain is still in transit to Coruscant and they cannot warn her. They contacted Scarada, who said Ordo and Jusik are already working on it. Chapter 19. Anaka has dropped Etain off on Coruscant. She changed out of her Jedi robes and has started making her way to the rendezvous point. Etain and Kor have rendezvoused with the others. Etain, Darman, Niner, Ordo, and Aiden are the only ones not at the rendezvous yet. Ordo wrapped up work at the Gar barracks. He saw Zay, who had clearly been attacked. Maze, Zay's ARC trooper, came in and shot him. They spoke for a short time, and Ordo left the office, hearing the finishing shot that killed Zay.
Chapter 20. Clone Commander Bakara described the betrayal he felt when he heard that his general throughout the war, Ki-Adi-Mundi, was a traitor.
Omega Squad, Ordo, and Scarada are waiting on the other side of a pedestrian bridge that the Gar have turned into a checkpoint for Etain. Just as she was getting to the front of the line, a few young Jedi were exposed and everything went nuts. Chapter 21. Instead of walking through the chaos and to the safety of her family, Etain stepped in front of a lightsaber swing from one of the Padawans meant for a clone trooper and was killed by the swing. Chapter 22. Ordo and Scarada ran towards the chaos. Ordo tried to perform CPR, but she was already dead. Scarada started killing the Jedi. As one of the Jedi fled, they sent Niner off the bridge, breaking his spine. Darman went after him and called a med evac, wanting to stay with Niner. Niner yelled at him to go join his kid because he'll already grow up without a mother. Haller Obrim arrived on the scene, telling Scarada to get out. When he refused, Obrim shot him in the neck to knock him out. Ordo, Kor, and Etain took Scarada away. Obrim said he would watch out for Niner and Darman and make sure they are all right. Aiden is on his way to pick up Etain's body.
Chapter 23. Kyra Morut, Mandalore, 1,090 days after the Battle of Geonosis.
The main ship made it to Mandalore first, with Aiden's ship coming a few hours later. He arrived with Nye, Yayek's squad, and Etain's body. Scarada went into the ship, carried the body out. Everyone at the complex had formed an honor guard to welcome Etain home. Everyone shared a meal and remembered Etain and pledged to make her sacrifice worth it and live their lives to the fullest. They also pledged to get Darman and Niner home as well. Bethany woke up during the night and heard someone crying and found Scarada crying in a room alone, mourning the loss and thinking up the courage to show Cad Etain's body in the morning. Cad had sensed Etain's death through the Force and had cried for minutes immediately after, and when he finished, his face and eyes had seemed older.
Chapter 24. 1,091 days after the Battle of Geonosis.
In the next morning, they held the cremation ceremony for Etain. As the fire burned, Scarada formally adopted her as his daughter. She never knew her parents, but in death, she knows her father. Scarada, Phi, and Etain are now preparing to talk with Uthan. Uthan has agreed to work on getting the clones a normal lifespan.
That was basically a chapter and a half of me reading and just tearing up throughout the whole thing. But we move on to chapter 25, 1,095 days after the Battle of Geonosis.
Scarada and Val made a memorial for all those lost during the Clone Wars, including many clones and Etain. Scarada then went inside to join the clan for breakfast. Afterward, he caught up and made up with his daughter. Chapter 26. Lama Su has some Fett clones in reserve in case Palpatine betrays Kamino with his new Imperial army. 1,096 days after the Battle of Geonosis. Nye dropped off Commander Levitt to Kyra Morut. He had served under Etain while she was pregnant and kept the information quiet. Nye also has 2 Jedi that she wants to bring to Scarada's care. A child and a Kaminoan with genetically modified, longer lifespan. Scarada only agreed to get access to the Kaminoan's DNA. Darman is blanking his memory of the past couple years so that he can survive in the Empire until he is able to escape. Niner is making quality improvements and should be back to action in weeks. Boss and Scorch found out that Darman and Niner are still in the army, and that Darman is only here because he could not leave Niner to die. That made them feel even more guilty about leaving Sev behind. Kor Aiton and the Nulls are on the deserter list. Chusik and Skarada have bounties. They assume Etain is dead because she is not on the Jedi bounty list.
Chapter 27, 1097 days after the Battle of Geonosis.
The Empire has arrived on Mandalore to build an outpost. Fen Shisa has accepted the nomination to be the new Mandalore, which he told Skarada he would only accept if he was unhappy with the Empire's dealings on Mandalore.
Now, this was an incredible book and an amazing way to wrap up the series. Now, there is an Imperial Commando book, also written by Karen Travis, which I have to assume is going to involve these characters, and I am now looking very forward to getting to that point in the timeline. That was Republic Commando Order 66. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Thank you everybody so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.